Welcome to astoryclubnetwork. I am Jasveer from Toronto, Canada. I am joined by T E Aravind on the other end of the world in Singapore. Aravind is the author of The Memory Paradox, The Gift and Curse of Human Memory. Welcome, Aravind.
Yep. Thank you, just for having me here. It was a pleasure.
It's my pleasure to meet you. I've heard a lot about the memory paradox. We'll talk more about it shortly. Let's start with your life. What do you do? What is T. Aravind about?
I'm Arvind. I was born in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, in India. Did my studies, everything till I got married. All happens in India. Then I moved to Singapore. I worked for a bank. Been in banking industry for 22 years, working on banking technologies, especially on the data platform, etc., etc. So that's my short and sweet introduction. I think, and I have one daughter. She is 16 years old, and kind of my first listener to my stories. So that's how my writing evolved. So yeah, I think my wife lives with me. She also works in a bank. She's also a banker. So that's my short and sweet introduction. That's where I think we'll talk about more, because I think when I talk about my writing, when I talk about the book, a lot of things, I think there will be connects to the personal aspects as well. So I think we will keep covering it as we move on.
So Arvind, you've talked about how you grew up in India and then you moved to Singapore. So let's quickly take a step back and get to know how writing really started for you. When did you first start writing?
Yeah, I think the writing as such started very late, probably 3-4 years back. I would say is as short as it is. But I think I always had that mind in terms of being creative about coming up with stories, being visually, imagining a situation in terms of how it would work, etc. I think in one of the previous conversations, I was saying that I at least had 10 different coffee meetings with my childhood hero, Rahul Dravid. And I imagine situations in terms of what kind of questions I will ask, what kind of questions he will ask me, etc. The conversation, how it goes, etc. So during my childhood, it's always about how a particular situation evolves and how I would react, how someone else will react. So I'm that kind of a visual, imaginative person. I think writing as such is evolved. I think, as I said, I think I realized that I can able to make a good story out of it when I started telling bedtime stories to my daughter, and then she liked it. My wife, listening to that, liked it, and that's how I realized that okay, I think this is something which I can do. It's a very late in that sense, but always I know that I can able to pull through stories. I can able to build the one line idea into a part, into a scenes, and I can able to build it in. I think that I did, and that's how it started. And then probably putting that into places, you need time. I think writing is not just creativity; it is all about patience. It's all about endurance in terms of whether you can sit, write, edit, correct. You can keep going. I think that
I think
process, right?
absolutely. The key word over here is patience. You need a lot of patience with writing. You need a lot of patience once you've published the book. Even after that, you need a lot of
Yes.
patience. Nothing happens in the short term. You've got to plan for the long term, have patience, and wait for the results to come in.
Yes, exactly. I think once you publish it, I think you realize that writing is a lot easier than getting book to the audience and the reader. I think coming back to the original point, I think COVID gave me that. So I think a lot of things happened during COVID, but maybe for some like me, there is a new time which was available for me apart from work, where I need to focus, sit down, and do things, and that's how memory paradox evolved.
Fantastic. So, Arvind, we've talked about your journey as a writer, how it began. So, what is the earliest piece of writing that you remember you wrote first? Do you remember that? What was the first, line, phrase, or a story that you wrote? Was it a short story, or was it, something to do with the book, The Memory Paradox?
Maybe the reason for a school leave, I would have come up with some creative stories on why I took leave in school.
I like that. That is where
Yeah,
maximum creativity comes, right? You've got to
yeah.
think of excuses to tell the teacher or your parents, why do you want leave?
Yeah, I think jokes apart. I think I
Yeah.
haven't tried writing as such. I think mine is. I think my first blog I wrote is when Rahul Dravid retired again. I think that reached big in social media. I think Lalit Modi retweeted it, and there is a lot more people who retweeted that. I think it kind of connected with a lot of people again. I think that's the maybe a first blog or official writing I've done. Then I think during COVID, I just started with a short story again. The same memory paradox. I think I wrote it in a different name, and it's only the first 50 pages. I kind of wrote it as a short story,
Yeah.
and then the response was quite good. It's very encouraging. I think a lot of people read it, gave comments. It was very positive, and a lot of feedback in terms of you should convert this into a big novel story, etc. I think it came in that way. Some also suggested that this story could be a good one from an OTT platform perspective, etc. It's a very short story. I never expected that kind of a response, but when it happened, I think for a creative person like us, I think it just need a little bit push in terms of positive feedbacks, encouragement. I think we will cross a mile if there is a little push, right? I think
Exactly.
that's what happened with that. I think, and then I evolved. I started writing this. I wrote it in Tamil first. Then my editor read it. She said, Arvind, I think this book is a pan-India book or a very for a larger audience. Don't restrict yourself to at a regional level. So we started working on putting that into English. Now it becomes a bilingual book and published it. So I think that's the journey in short, just with us.
No, fantastic. That's what matters to an author or an artist, the feedback, the reviews that you get. And
Correct.
that is quite motivating. Good to hear that you've received positive feedback and it's coming out bilingual. I'm planning to grab it as soon as possible. As soon as we get off the call, I'm going to grab the book. So
Looking forward to it.
let's talk about the source of inspiration for this book. And has it changed with time? As you published it, you went through the publishing process, you got it edited, published. So is the inspiration still the same, or is it changed now?
No, I think inspiration is still the same, and in fact, it got a bit broader, bit bigger as the story evolved. Because I started with a particular theme, and then that theme evolved into a novel, and then when the I think maybe I'll respond to your first question in terms of the inspiration. I think inspiration is more on during COVID times, right? I think one side we talked about the positive in terms of I came out, but I think there is a lot of sad stories, a lot of things which we haven't seen in generations before, right? On what happened during that time. So I think I was actually wondering, like, for an event like this, I think people would have trauma for generations, for years. I don't think a lot of people have come out of it. For example, I think my friend lost his father and he couldn't even see him. He couldn't even do the last rites. And I just felt so bad about those things. And I said, how can he come out of that guilt, right, of not able to do something which he should be doing it? I think it's not in his control, but it happened. Then a lot of people lost their family. They go into depression, trauma, etc., etc. So it goes into a mental health component of it. Then I thought about what if we have a technology where we can edit our memories to get rid of this trauma? Can we solve some of the mental health issues? I think it evolved from those personal experience, what we are seeing through in news channels, in media, hearing through friends, relatives, etc. I just thought, how can we get rid of the depression which people go into? I think that's the inspiration in terms of coming up with this kind of an idea. Then I researched for it, and to my surprise, medical industry is already working on such technology towards rats and other things. So I just thought, okay, I think I'm not talking something which is not going to happen. It may happen in next 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. It could happen. Why don't we do some more research on that and come up with a book with the fiction and how it works? So I think, so I took that science as one bit. Then I kept a relationships, which is possibly most of the mental health problem starts with somewhere in the relationship. So I kind of coupled that came up with the narrative and the plot. So that's how it started. And I think when the book evolved, I think at some stage, what I realized is what if I have a brain is an immortal? What happens to that? I think it kind of evolved into a next genre theme in terms of what we could do with our brain, how we could. So it kind of inspired some of the themes which I'm going to write in the future. So that's how it kind of enhanced from where I started.
Yeah, in fact, that is what got drawn me to this conversation. When I listened to the earlier podcast that you did with another gentleman, that is what actually drew me. How to repair, how to sort of rehash the memories, the trauma that people have gone through. And COVID was traumatic time, nothing that we had ever imagined, but it happened, right?
Yeah.
And it happened in a longer run for about 3-4 years. Some people suffered. So, tell us more about the book. What is the kind of methodology that you've used behind this, and how will it help the readers finally?
Yeah. So I think I look at I took two ways, right? One is the relationships, and I took 3 layers of relationships in it. One is the young adults. Then I kept middle-aged, late 30s, 40s in terms of what it is. And then I also kept a thin line in terms of how the relationship would be in the 60s, in the 50s, etc. How people think. So I kept 3 layers of it. 3 layers as a different relationship problem, different mental health problems because of the relationships. So I just kept it that way, right?
Yep.
Then I took the technology in terms of how technology can solve it. Then I kind of built the characters through it to see how I can put the puzzle in terms of how I wanted to do that. But one thing which I kind of kept, static from the beginning. I think I have a board, right? In the first line I wrote when I was plotting it is like, situation is key. There is no villain in this book. It's always a situation, right? I think people react to situation. That could be bad or that could be good. Nobody is good or bad, because of experience, because of what they went through, because of what they want, because how they think. Probably, it could go either side, but it is always about situations. It is always about their experience. It is always about the past. So I kind of put that in a theme of how, we should see people around us and how we should help. Despite you backstab me, if I understand the reason to say, oh, he backstabbed me, I'm going to take a revenge on him, or I have a choice of, let me understand why he did that. Can I fix it so that he doesn't do this to anyone else? So I think book goes around that bit to say, even I backstab you, I can understand your situation. I can do it differently, right? I think I kind of put it together. So I think from a reader's perspective, I think you will not see a big villain coming in doing stuff. It's always a situation is a villain, and whether we overcome the situation through empathy, showing a bit more. I think everyone deserves a second chance. Everyone deserves a chance. Can we do that? How do we go about it? I think that's what I was trying to pull it through in this. So I kind of mixed a psychological relationship and science put together, came up with a story here. I think that's the book is all about.
That's a fantastic premise, and I love what you just said. People react to situations and not people. That's really meaningful. And you've already answered one of the questions that somebody asked in the group. What age group does the book cater to? And you've already said that it's divided into 3 sections, for teens, and then for young adults, and then of course for seniors. I think not just the mental health issues, but the perspective, the way we look at these issues is also different with age.
Yes.
As the age
Yes.
group changes, the perspective also changes. You've aptly already answered the question. It caters to all age groups. Fantastic.
I think that's one of the things which I kind of kept it, because when we talk about science, right, there is always a dilemma in terms of how far science can go and how far humanity should be there. I think I don't want to give solutions outright, but I want to give an opportunity for people to discuss about it by asking a right and wrong question. So even the characters ask these questions in the book to say, why do we need to change human experience? But why can't we change it if that is going to solve the problem? So I think I kind of raised these dilemma in the book as well. I don't want to give an outright solution to it. The solutions exist, but we want to see the way we want to see it. So I think that is each and individual readers wants to see, in their own way. And if I can get a feedback around it to say you are wrong or you are right in a particular way, I think that would be nice. So that's
Fantastic.
how I wanted the book to be. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Once again, the point of view, the perspective of how people or readers will interpret the book. Fantastic. So, what part of the book did you have the hardest time writing?
That's a difficult one, but I think I think there are a couple of places I would say. I think some is on the romance portion. It's not my strength, but I think I kind of pulled it through in terms of how I want to do it, because I don't want to be too cinematic, but yet it has to be good. And that's sometimes we get too one-sided in terms of romance and other things when we read it. So I kind of struggle to find a balance in terms of how I wanted to do it. So I think that's one part. The other part is, I would say, I think the story moves from Chennai to US. So I think that journey, I think I wanted to bring it together in a more, fast-paced in terms of how I can able to do it, etc. But I think that the middle portions, somewhere, I think the initial feedback was, I think you can able to, cut it short, you can able to keep it crisp, etc. But the problem there is the middle portion has a lot of connectivity towards the end, but people who are reading the middle portion did not realize it at that time, but they realize it at the end of the book. So I think the feedback is more like, I've read it, this portion is what bit, a bit lagging. Can you make it crisp? But if I make it crisp, I think they cannot able to connect it to the end. So that was a bit of a dilemma for me to say how short I should keep it, how brief I need to have it. Because if I keep it too short, the connectivity when they finish the book may not be there. So
exactly. I think, and that I think to me is the toughest part of editing phase. When you get the feedback and somebody asks you, can you change this? Can you reduce the words? Can you change the perspective of the story? This doesn't look good. So when you get the perspective of the editor, sometimes it becomes tough, and I can understand, how difficult it is, because you've written the story with a perspective, with an idea, with a thought process, but suddenly now somebody is telling you, you know what? Can you change this? Can you reduce, make it more crisp? Truly. That can be difficult.
That's a very difficult part, because
exactly,
you know that it is a last line where people should be able to make a connect, and then if they say that they could not able to make a connect, then there is something went wrong.
Exactly.
Right? I think you need to correct not the portion which they are saying, but you need to connect somewhere else so that you're able to establish the connectivity. I think as an author, I think we need to get the feedback, but I think we need to edit where we think it has to be edited rather than just going blindly with the exercise. So it is a very thin line in terms of how you could accept it.
And that's a discussion we can have endlessly with the editors, right? That's a never-ending discussion.
Correct.
So now that you're a published author and your book is out, it's bilingual. You've also gone through the stages wherein the book is translated and then edited and then published. So let me ask you, how happy were you with the entire publishing process, and which was the part that you loved and which was the part that you hated amongst everything that you did to publish your book?
Yeah. I think the whole process is a great learning experience. I would say I think I'm doing it for the first time. So I think there is a lot of education, learning in terms of how this industry works, etc. I really enjoyed the process thoroughly. I think the part which I really hated is I would say is a waiting period. When you do initial draft, you share it with your beta readers, you share it with the editor, and then you are like a child waiting for an first feedback on what what you wanted to you have spent a lot of time patiently writing it. You did your own editing, you did your own correction to see this is how it has to be, and then you just give it to them, and then they take 3-4 weeks. Sometimes some people come fast, some it takes time. So I think you just need to wait, bite it out, to see how the initial feedback is. I think I just hated that because I'm very impatient when it comes to that part of it, because we all crave for some sort of a recognition. We all crave for some sort of an appreciation of the work, and also the feedback in terms of what I thought as a story, whether it has landed the way I wanted it to be, whether people who are reading it is also conceiving it the same way. That it's a very very a tough part. After you have done all the work, you're just waiting for someone to read it and say, yeah, I think it looks good, or oh, okay, I think this portion is good, this portion is bad, I really like this character. When all this comes out as a feedback, I think that's what we all crave for. So I think that waiting is always, I hate it.
I think that
And
butterflies in the stomach, that always remains, no matter how old you are, whatever age bracket you are. When you're waiting for a result, when you're waiting for the feedback, those butterflies are always there in the stomach. Nervousness is
yeah,
always there.
yeah.
Uh,
That's parcel of our journey. But still, we just want someone to read your 300-page book in a couple of days and get back to you. But I think they also have their other priorities, and they are trying to get this into that, right? So I think it's part and parcel of it. But I think we are sometimes the child in all of us will comes out at that time to say, hey, can you do it for me, etc. So but that's how it
True,
is.
true. And so this is the
Yeah,
part that
and
that you didn't like. So which is the part that you loved?
yeah, I think the best part I would say is the post publish period, where you try to promote, you meet with your readers, you try to get a feedback from your not so known circle, but they are actually seeing it and doing it. So I think that part is something which I really cherish. For example, I think I was in Delhi Book Fair last week, and there was this teen girl who picked up my book. So publisher pulled me in, said, do you want to interact, do you want to sign, have a copy, etc., etc. So I was just talking to her, and she was saying, I was asking her like, oh, which author do you like, which genre you like, etc., etc. And her father was saying, I just brought her here and said, I asked her to pick one book out of everything available in that particular stall, and she picked your book. So that was
Wow.
like, nice. I think that's a very good feel to. Then I was actually talking to her father about how she reads, what happens, and general casual talk. I think those interactions are very special, I would say. Similarly, one more incident is like I was actually attending a panel discussion there, and we were waiting for setup to be done, and and so there's another girl comes in. She has a very methodical way of selecting the books. She picked up 5-6 books, and then she read the blurb of all 5-6. Then she kept 2 or 3. Then picked up a random page. She read random page from each of the book, and then she picked mine and went on to buy it. So I was like, okay, I think it's like, okay, book cover you cleared, you pass. Then okay, I think the blurb you cleared it. It's like every stage. I think as an author, right? I think these are all different stages you go through in terms of designing your book cover. You go through a lot of details in your book cover, but not necessarily everyone will get that details. So, but these things is actually a good feel-good factor in terms of someone actually liked your book cover. They read your blurb. Oh, okay, blurb made them interesting in terms of to look further. Then they read a couple of pages and said, okay, I think it is interesting, I'll buy it. I think it's like you kind of it's a win, right? It's a small win
It's a
for us
win.
in terms of confidence, right? I think
True.
that's how. So I think these interactions with the reader, to see how they choose your book, how they go about it, and then the feedback portion. I think all that is actually a very nicer thing, because you spend hours and hours crafting it, and then if someone comes in and gives a little bit of appreciation, I think, and the interaction you get to have with different people, I think that's the best part of the journey, actually.
No doubt that goes a long way and boosts the motivation of the author. No doubt about that.
Yeah.
All right. So, what is the future for the characters? Are you planning a sequel or a prequel for the book?
Yes, I think there is a prequel and then there is a sequel to the book. I think the journey of one particular character ends with an open-ended question. So that's a bit of a cliffhanger, I would say, in this book. So I think that will be a prequel in terms of journey of that particular character and how it evolved and what happens to that. And I think in the end of this book, I also raised a question about the brain immortality. So that comes in terms of the journey a bit in the second book, and then that leads into my sequel of this book that is basically talks about the immortality of the brain. So these two
Fantastic.
parts will come in. So there are certain characters who are a bit underplayed in this book, will have a very significant role in the second one, and then the lead up to that. So that's how it is going to be.
Fantastic. Look forward to more work from you. And Arvind, so apart from book publishing, let's quickly talk about the writing process. What do you like in your writing space that sort of helps you focused on the process of writing?
I think for me, writing is, it is, you get into a zone. It's kind of a meditative zone. You get into a different, world in terms of crafting it. So I think I would say it is somewhere close to a meditative zone for me. But I think in terms of flow, in terms of getting my creative juice going in, I think I would require some sort of a silence with not much of a disturbance. I need to sit alone somewhere, in the corner, and I just want to do my work. I think from a thinking point of view, I'll just walk around, but I don't want anyone to talk to me in between. But I think I don't mind walking around the house, but I just that thought process, right? I think that's very important. So I'm very kind enough to have a family who understands that and give me that space when I'm doing that. So I think that's very important for me. And as I said, I'm a big fan of A.R. Rahman. So of course, I think his songs brings that kind of a creative element in me as well. Especially, I think his 90s albums. I think that's my young adult teen period. So effectively, I have a very close connection to music then, and still I have a lot of connection to those musics than any latest music. So I think that's how most of us are. So we connect to to our teens
Classics.
and young adults in terms of music.
Exactly. Yeah.
So so I think I particularly have one YouTube video which runs around 3 hours of his music, and I would have played it like 1,500 times. I think that guy must be earning good money through my me listening to that repeatedly. But I think that so those things are very very close to me when I want to get into the zone, right? I think that's very important. So I don't think I'm listening the music very attentively, but I think in the background, such musics, and then you get into the zone, and then you start doing your work. So I think that these are the things which is very important. I prefer night, but I think not always. I think I could do it in the night. So I think I prefer night because of the silence, because of lack of disturbance, etc. COVID time, I think I was able to manage that, to get some night time and then do my work in the morning. I think post COVID, we need to go to office. There is a lot of other things around, so I think it's getting a bit challenging in terms of getting time in the night. So I think I need to find a way on how I'm going to manage it, or how I'm managing it is still a work in progress for me right now.
Right. Fantastic. And so how did COVID affect your writing process? I mean, did you start writing during COVID, or were you writing before COVID as well?
No, I think I started during COVID. I think
Right.
before that, as I said, I think I kind of a bedtime storyteller to my daughter. She's my first audience, and I think that's how the entire thing came in. So I started during COVID. I think there is no distractions. There is a lot of your own time available, and you start thinking about what do you want to do, etc. I think that's how it started. So
Fantastic. Yeah. COVID opened a lot of avenues, and one of the avenues that COVID opened was the virtual world. I think we are more
yes,
virtual than before COVID. Post COVID, the work has gone virtual. Work from home is a lot more there. Hybrid work environment is a lot more there. Yes, of course, there was the traumatic part of the COVID, but then if you look at the other part of the COVID, we are a lot more virtual. We are a lot more connected now than before. And kind of that is my takeaway from the entire COVID. Uh, if you only
no, I,
concentrate
I
on negatives, I think there are a lot of
no,
trauma,
I
a
think
lot of loss. But this is what I take away as a positive from the entire, pandemic.
yeah, I think I would do a couple of things. Right, one is the technology advancement during COVID. I think it took us 10 years ahead in
Yep.
terms of what it is. I don't think we would have fast tracked in terms of technology if not for COVID, because there is a need, right? So I think we always say need is a mother of invention. So I think that's one thing. I think we have fast tracked in terms. The other one I realized is how much time we all waste in commuting,
Exactly.
uh, doing nothing, right? I think
Yep.
now, say for example, if someone, I think Singapore is still not a commuting hazard. I would say I think it's easy to commute in Singapore, but still I think it takes time, 30, 40 minutes, 1 hour, whatever it is. It takes time. And I think if you look at someone in Mumbai or someone in India, that where the commuting is very,
Absolutely.
very difficult, it's
Yep.
easily they can save 3, 4 hours a day. I think 3, 4 hours a day is significant, and you don't get tired, so your body is still ready to do more things. So I think it's a cycle, right? So I think definitely COVID does help in terms of the work-life balance, and gives all of us opportunity to do something more than our regular routine. So that could be health, that could be yoga, that could be spending time with family, or someone like me took something else as a passion to start doing it. So I think it gives a lot of opportunity for all of us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that, Arvind. Thank you so much for your insights. I mean, I really love them. Uh, Arvind, here's a request from one of the members in my group. Can you read one of the possibly paragraphs or a dialogue from the book?
Yeah, I would do that. Um, my pleasure to read something on that. So I'm just picking up a random one, chapter 34 of it. The next morning, the workshop started at 9 a.m. Maya looked beautiful in the black suit, the first time I had seen her wearing one. I was clad in a blazer and hadn't bothered with a tie. I winked at Maya, and she winked back at me with a smile. Our happy times in Chennai resort were running all over in my mind. With the little look and that wink, I sighed those good old days. Divya was again wearing her earbud, only in one ear. She directly asked Yadin Sharat to address the gathering. Yadin began speaking. It is something we use every day, but we won't even think much about it. At best, we would speak of it when we think of exams and tests. Otherwise, we realize its importance only when we lose it or lose something because of it. I'm talking about our brain, our memories, and the power of retaining and recollecting them. Our memories is of three types. First is a genetic memory. This is what we get via generations from our ancestors. Say your eyes are like your grandfather's, or some other feature resembles someone else in your family, and so on and so forth. We would call a few children prodigies. They would be really skilled or talented from a very young age. No one would know how they got that talent. This could all be called genetic memory. We are get we are not going to discuss these kind of memories in this workshop, as the theories around it are still being debated in the scientific communities, and there is no direct proof to support them scientifically. The next is a declarative memory. In this kind, we would only remember the things that happened, facts, events, and experiences. We would recollect in vivid detail the events that happened and explain them with the same attention to detail. The place where it has happened, whatever we saw during that time, everything could be recollected and detailed. And when we do this, we rethink the places we had seen and how they look. The experience we had will come to us again, and we would feel it just as vividly, inclusively of the emotions we felt at that moment. This kind of recollection could be so potent that the resultant happiness or sadness could even affect our current state of mind. The next is a non-declarative memory. This is related to the motor skills or emotions. For example, when we are riding a bicycle, we won't know which side of a muscle or tissues we are moving to balance ourselves on it or ride it. Even we face the strong opposing headwind, we will automatically change our position to maintain the balance. We won't be consciously aware of which muscle we are using to achieve this stroke. But no matter how many such things happen, our body would automatically react as if you are used to doing such things daily. When we smell the fragrance of the earthy rain, when our mother cooks our favorite dishes at home, everyone at home feels happy for the whole day, but no one can explain how all this is happening or how it even started. Some places, things trigger particular emotions in us, and we associate the events as such. The part of the brain where declarative memories land is called hippocampus. The place where the non-declarative memories is called amygdala. I'll just pass it there. I think this is a key portion in terms of what it is, but bit of preaching. I think I randomly picked it. It comes in this way. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. So I'm just curious, what kind of research went into, the psychology part or the neuroscience part of the book? Are you a student? I mean, do you already have had knowledge before you began writing about psychology and neuroscience? Or did you do research for this book?
No, I think this is a research for this book, especially. I think I'm a computer science grad and a finance by profession. So So I think I kind of read a few books. I knew a few people from a psychological world, so had a discussion with them, got it corrected. Then I think there is quite a few TED Talks and YouTubes which is around that. So I kind of put it together. When I wrote it, I shared it with few experts to make it a bit more factual rather than imaginative one. So I think that's how the research went in, and I got it.
Fantastic. I love that part, being an author, the research part. You get to learn a lot of new things. I mean, you're not the
Yes.
expert, right? But you do learn a lot of new things. You learn new facts as you go along doing the research. I love that part.
No, I think it's very important for us to evolve as an author also. I think you get
Exactly.
new ideas when you read more. Yeah. So I think recently I was reading this book on Steve Jobs' presentation, and the author was talking about Steve Jobs always asked one question like, why do you care? Right? I think, which means he is always worrying about why should someone care about listening to me, buying iPhone, buying Apple products. So I think as an author, we should also look at why should a reader care about reading my book? I think that's a very important question for us to ask to see, sorry, am I presenting the right thing? Am I making it interesting for them? Am I giving them something which they haven't seen before? It's very important to have those elements in the book and keep it in your marketing, speech in terms of what you are doing it, how you want to make it as a selling point, etc. It's very important in all those. I think all this is my learning curve through this journey in terms of how the marketing works, how the commercial works. I think that's one of the important part everyone should be cognizant about. Sorry. And we should also make it, saleable from a publisher point of view as well.
True. I think that's the most critical point as an author that we all need to accept, that everybody is going to pick up your book with a different mindset. They'll look at the same story with different perspectives. So that's always going to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And somebody might like it, somebody might not like it. Different perspectives will always exist, and you have to accept all the perspectives.
Correct.
Aravind, and I ask all my guests this question because you're a published author. You've already struggled. You've already gone through the process. You love it, you hate it. But what would be your message for the young and aspiring authors who are willing to explore the new dimensions of creative writing?
Yeah, I think I'm just one book old, so I think I'm just going to say something which is work for me, and I think that is, and also I think we can take some successful people who have told something similar as well, right? I think if you want to do something, I would say just go ahead and do it. There is no perfect time. There is no perfect outcome which you can expect to say, if I want to do this, this is how I'm going to end, etc. I think just get into the action. Action gives you learning. You correct it from the learning, you get on with it, you improve. So I think you just go through the cycle of action, learning, improvement, action, learning, improvement. I think you will get better at doing anything you want to do. I think being an author or you want to do anything in life, I think action matters. Planning and waiting, I think it's only going to hold you where you are. You are not moving forward. If you are moving forward if you move forward 3 steps and then you pull it back by 1 step, you are still 2 steps ahead from where you were, right? I think it's very important that way. And I think we have heard people like MS Dhoni saying that process is very important and outcome is a byproduct of the process. So I think we need to have a good process on how whatever you wanted to do, put the process into place. If things doesn't go well the way you want, then look at where you need to improve from a process perspective, then start working on the process again. I think the outcome will come. So I think those are all people who have been successful, followed it, the words from those people. I think we should just take it and see how we wanted to apply that in our own area. MS Dhoni may be doing it in cricket, but if something works for cricket, why not it works for being an author or any creative profession for that matter. I think it's very important to take and learning from everywhere, wherever it's available, but just execute it, get into the action. I think action is most important thing for you to move forward.
Exactly. I mean, cricket and writing is totally different ball game, but the process might remain the same. You still have to plan, you still have to execute that plan. So yeah, I mean, everything else remains the same. The process, the approach remains the same. The attitude remains the same. Truly, truly remarkable words. Thank you so much, Aravind. And what does Aravind like to do when he's not writing? Who's your favorite author? Do you read a lot?
Yeah, I do read. I think my favorite author is the Tamil author called Sujata. I think if you have seen a robot movie, I think it is from his book called En Iniya Yendiram. It's like a My Dear Machine. So I think that's I think that's how it is. I think he writes a lot of science fiction or science-based fictions. So I really like it. I think some of the concepts he kind of put it in the 80s and 90s is actually been in a real scenario today, and we have been using it like day in and day out. So I really like reading his books. Definitely, I think the other one I really like is Amish Tripathi. I think someone who can get the mythological characters into a fiction and kind of put it in a very light, easier understanding in terms of what it is. I think it's very good. I think some of the characters, the connectivity of the characters, when I read it, I can able to relate it with how it actually worked. Because before that, I did not know, though I've been following the Shiva and others, but probably I think when it comes in, I kind of went back and checked the real mythology to say what it is, and I think I could able to see how all that has panned out. So I think I really liked Amish Tripathi's book as well, and I think recently Agatha Christie on the murder thrillers. I think she has a unique way of writing the murder thrillers as well. So I think these 3 authors are definitely my favorites, and I would like to read more of those.
All right, fantastic. So The Memory Paradox, The Gift and Curse of Human Memory by T E Aravind is available on Amazon worldwide in Tamil and English. Aravind, tell us how the readers and whoever will see this video can get in touch with you if they need to.
Yeah, I think my book is available in Amazon. I think we just mentioned it. You can connect with me on Instagram, Arvind Writes. Facebook is also Arvind Writes, and in my LinkedIn it's Arvind TE. So I think you can connect me on that. My email ID is arvindwrites@gmail.com. So you can email me as well on any feedbacks, any criticism. Happy to get it.
Fantastic.
Just want to extend my thanks to you, Jasveer, I think, for having me in your show. This interview has been pleasure talking to you. I think we didn't realize 45 minutes went in that fast. I think that's the beauty of the. It's a more like a discussion than an question and answer session. So I think it was pleasure being in your. Thanks for having me.
Arvind, it was truly inspirational to have you over here. I've really loved talking to you, and the insights that you've shared about your book and publishing and marketing in general are really amazing. And with every interview I try and share, every discussion that I have with authors, I try and share at least one key bit that they would want readers and the aspiring authors to know. So what would be that one sort of key takeaway from our discussion?
I think the key takeaway from the discussion, I would say, is I think you are asking the right questions, though it is a discussion in terms of what it is. So I can able to come out and express myself. I think that's very important. I think as an author, I think if you pre-plan, I think the way that the discussion goes would be very different. But here it's a free flow in terms of how we have discussed it. And I think my takeaway from that, Jasveer, is I think all authors need to share support more in terms of how we can evolve. I think this is a very challenging industry in terms of how we evolve. So I think I would take away in terms of from an author perspective is like we all need to help each other. We all need to travel together, and we should also be responsible in terms of making the readers care about our reading, etc. So I think what I mean is we should not. I think authors support each other, but I think we should not be fooling the readers in terms of what it is. I think it's a very tight balance. We should be doing it in terms of what it is. So I think you are doing that pretty well. I think you covered my basics in terms of the entire book, etc. I think that was so fascinating. I think I learned a lot, but through your questions and how I should respond and what I do. So I think it was pleasure that way.
No, truly, the ecosystem is getting smaller day by day. We all need to support each other, truly. I absolutely agree with you. Arvind, thank you so much for taking time out for this discussion. I really enjoyed it. And I hope that our listeners on Spotify, Google Podcast, and Anchor, and Apple Podcast will also enjoy. The video is going to be available on astoryclubnetwork's platform, as well as my channel, which is jasveersinghdangi on YouTube. Thank you so much, Arvind, and you have a lovely day.
Thank you. You too have a look. Thanks for having me. Thank you so much.